My beloved child. There are moments in life that seem ordinary on the surface, yet quietly carry the power to change everything. This is one of those moments. Right now, someone is holding back words they have replayed in their heart more times than you could imagine. Not because they do not feel deeply. Not because they are unsure. But because some feelings become so meaningful that speaking them out loud feels like stepping into an entirely new chapter. And here is the surprising part. The person connected to this confession may not be the one you have been expecting. Stay till the end, because something huge is waiting for you within this story. For a long time, you may have focused your attention in one direction, believing that if a meaningful connection was ever going to appear, it would come from a certain face, a certain name, or a certain memory. But life has a way of writing unexpected pages. While your attention was fixed on one possibility, another heart may have been quietly observing your kindness, your resilience, and the way you continue moving forward even during uncertain seasons. Not from a distance filled with fantasy, but from a place of genuine admiration. They noticed the small things. The moments you thought nobody saw. The way you encouraged others when you needed encouragement yourself. The way you kept believing that meaningful connections still existed. And slowly, without noise, without announcements, something began to grow. What makes this story different is that it was never built on appearances alone. It was built on moments. Small moments. The kind that seem insignificant until one day they suddenly mean everything. Don't skip this part. Because the next piece of this story reveals why this person has remained silent for so long, and the reason may surprise you more than the confession itself. A quiet truth is beginning to rise to the surface. The reason this person has remained silent is not what most people would assume. It was never about a lack of feeling. It was about timing. Some people speak the moment they feel something. Others carry their emotions carefully, waiting until they believe their words can truly be understood. This person belongs to the second group. For longer than you realize, they have been collecting moments. A conversation that stayed in their mind long after it ended. A smile that appeared when they needed it most. A simple interaction that somehow felt more meaningful than it should have. Each memory became another reason they could not ignore what was growing inside them. Yet they hesitated. Not because they doubted you. Because they respected what they felt. They did not want their words to become just another passing moment. They wanted those words to matter. And now, something is changing. The distance between thought and action is becoming smaller. The questions that once kept them silent are beginning to fade. The uncertainty that once made them pause is slowly being replaced by courage. What they have wanted to say for so long is no longer staying hidden as easily as before. That is why the energy around this story feels different. A turning point is approaching. A moment when feelings that have lived quietly may finally find a voice. But here is the detail that changes everything. The confession itself is not the biggest surprise. The biggest surprise is how close this person may already be to your everyday life. Stay with this story. Because the next chapter uncovers the clues that have been there all along, clues most people would never notice until it is almost too late to ignore them. Sometimes the biggest signs are the ones that appear so naturally that they blend into the background. Think about that for a moment. Not every meaningful connection arrives with dramatic entrances or unforgettable first impressions. Some grow quietly, hidden within ordinary moments, waiting for the right time to reveal their true meaning. This is where the story becomes fascinating. The person carrying these feelings may have left small clues behind without even realizing it. Perhaps they remembered details that others quickly forgot. Perhaps they listened more carefully when you spoke. Perhaps they found reasons to continue conversations that could have ended much sooner. None of these moments seemed extraordinary on their own. Yet together, they formed a pattern. A pattern of attention. A pattern of care. A pattern that quietly revealed what their heart was trying to protect. And the most remarkable part? You may have already felt something unusual around them. Not a certainty. Not a clear answer. Just a feeling. A subtle sense that there was more beneath the surface than words were revealing. Many people dismiss those moments. They tell themselves they are imagining things. They move on without looking closer. But sometimes those quiet impressions exist for a reason. Sometimes they are the first glimpse of a truth that has not fully arrived yet. Don't skip ahead in your thoughts. Because what happens next is where everything begins to shift. The person who once seemed comfortable staying silent is starting to realize that some opportunities are too meaningful to leave unspoken forever. And as that realization grows stronger, another surprising detail is about to emerge. A detail that could completely change the way you see this entire connection. Stay till the end. Because the next part reveals what finally pushed this hidden heart closer to making a choice they can no longer avoid. An unexpected realization has begun changing everything. Not overnight. Not in a dramatic instant. But through a series of quiet moments that slowly became impossible to ignore. This person started noticing something they had tried not to think about before. Every time they imagined the future, your presence seemed to appear somewhere with. Not as a fantasy. Not as a perfect story. But as a genuine possibility. And that possibility felt real enough to make them pause. For a long time, they convinced themselves there would always be another day to speak, another opportunity to express what they truly felt. But life has a way of reminding people that meaningful moments should not be postponed forever. The more they reflected, the clearer one truth became. Some connections deserve honesty. Some feelings deserve a voice. And some people become too important to remain a mystery. That realization created something powerful inside them. Courage. Not the kind that removes every fear. The kind that moves forward despite uncertainty. Now their thoughts are different. Instead of asking, "What if I say something?" they have begun asking, "What if I never do?" And that single question has changed the direction of this entire story. Because once a heart reaches that point, silence becomes much harder to maintain. The walls they carefully built around their emotions are becoming thinner. The words they once kept hidden are moving closer to the surface. Yet there is still one final hesitation. One final question they have not fully answered. A question connected directly to you. The answer to that question could determine when this confession finally arrives. And in the next part, you'll discover what that question is, and why it may be the final piece standing between hidden feelings and spoken truth. The final hesitation is more heartfelt than you might expect. It is not about whether they care. It is not about whether their feelings are real. Those answers have already become clear within them. The question that remains is much simpler. And much more personal. Will my honesty be welcomed? That thought has stayed with them longer than any other. Because when someone truly values a connection, they do not rush carelessly toward it. They consider the impact of their words. They wonder how their truth might be received. They hope that revealing their feelings will bring understanding rather than distance. So they watch. They listen. They pay attention to the energy between you. Not searching for certainty. Just looking for a sign that openness is possible. And recently, something has caught their attention. A moment. A conversation. A feeling they could not easily explain. Whatever it was, it left them with the sense that the door they thought was closed may never have been closed at all. Since then, their confidence has been growing quietly. The possibility that once felt far away now feels closer. The words that once seemed impossible to say now feel almost within reach. And here is where the story takes another unexpected turn. The confession itself may not arrive in the grand way people imagine. It may appear through a simple conversation. A meaningful exchange. A moment so natural that only afterward do you realize everything has changed. Stay with this journey. Because the next chapter reveals why the timing of this confession is becoming more important than ever, and why the person behind it feels closer than you have been led to believe. Just when everything seemed destined to remain unspoken, a new chapter quietly began unfolding. The timing now feels different. Not because the world around this person has suddenly changed. Because they have changed. The version of them that once waited endlessly for the perfect moment is slowly disappearing. In its place is someone beginning to understand that perfect moments are rarely found. They are created. And that realization is powerful. It means the confession is no longer living only in imagination. It is moving closer to reality. Closer to words. Closer to action. There have been recent moments when they almost said something. Moments when their heart urged them forward. Moments when a simple sentence sat at the edge of a conversation, waiting to be spoken. But each time, they paused. Not out of fear alone. Out of respect for what those words would mean once they were released. Because they know something important. Once a truth is spoken, it changes the space between two people. And the truth they carry is far too meaningful to express carelessly. Yet the silence that once felt comfortable no longer feels the same. What was once protection is beginning to feel like distance. What was once caution is beginning to feel like a missed opportunity. That is why the energy around this story is building. Slowly. Steadily. Inevitably. Something huge is waiting just beyond the horizon of ordinary days. Not a dramatic event. Not a life turned upside down. But a sincere moment of honesty that has the power to make everything feel different. And here is the mystery that remains. If this person is closer than expected, if the signs have been present all along, and if their courage is finally growing stronger than their hesitation. Then what happens when the opportunity they've been waiting for finally arrives? The answer to that question may become the most unforgettable part of this entire story. And in the next chapter, the hidden connection between all these clues finally begins to reveal itself. A hidden thread has been connecting these moments from the very beginning. What once looked like coincidence now starts to feel like a story quietly assembling itself piece by piece. Think about it. The unexpected conversations. The timing that seemed strangely meaningful. The moments when someone's attention lingered just a little longer than usual. Individually, they appeared ordinary. Together, they reveal something far more interesting. This person never intended to make their feelings obvious. In fact, they worked hard to keep them hidden. Yet genuine emotions have a way of leaving traces behind. Not loud traces. Gentle ones. A little more patience. A little more curiosity. A little more And now those traces are becoming impossible for them to ignore. Because the closer they get to speaking their truth, the harder it becomes to pretend those feelings are not there. What makes this chapter so powerful is that the story is no longer only about a confession. It is about recognition. The recognition that meaningful connections often appear when we least expect them. The recognition that some of the most important people in our lives enter our hearts quietly before we ever understand their significance. And perhaps most surprising of all. The recognition that the person behind this story may not fit the image you once imagined. Sometimes the heart chooses differently than expectations do. Sometimes the connection that lasts is not the one that first captured attention. It is the one that consistently shows up, understands, and remains genuine. That realization is drawing closer for both of you. Stay till the end. Because the next chapter reveals the moment this person finally stops looking backward, stops questioning every feeling, and starts preparing for the one thing they have delayed for far too long. The moment of truth is approaching. The atmosphere is changing now. Not in a way everyone can see. But in the quiet spaces where important decisions are made. For a long time, this person stood between two worlds. One world was safe. It required no risk, no vulnerability, no difficult conversations. The other world held possibility. A possibility that felt exciting, meaningful, and deeply personal. And little by little, they have been moving toward that second world. What finally changed their perspective was surprisingly simple. They realized that some opportunities become more valuable when they are appreciated, not merely imagined. They realized that admiration kept hidden forever can never become understanding. And understanding begins with honesty. That realization has been growing stronger with every passing day. Now, when they think about you, they no longer focus only on what could go wrong. They think about what could go right. They think about the conversations that have not happened yet. The memories that have not been created yet. The possibilities that remain unwritten. For the first time, hope is beginning to outweigh hesitation. And that shift is powerful. Because once hope becomes stronger than fear, people start making choices they once believed were impossible. This is why the story feels so close to its turning point. The person behind this hidden affection is no longer searching for endless reasons to wait. They are searching for the right moment to begin. Not a perfect moment. A genuine one. And here is the detail that makes everything even more intriguing. The moment they have been waiting for may arrive much sooner than either of you expect. A simple encounter. A familiar conversation. An ordinary day that suddenly feels unforgettable. The next chapter brings us to the edge of that moment. And when it arrives, the truth that has remained hidden throughout this entire journey may finally find its voice. The distance between silence and truth has never been smaller than it is now. Everything that once felt uncertain is beginning to align in a quiet, meaningful way. The hesitation that held this person back for so long is no longer the strongest voice in their heart. Something else has taken its place. Clarity. Not perfect certainty. But enough clarity to know that some feelings deserve to be expressed rather than hidden. They have replayed countless possibilities in their mind. They have imagined different outcomes. Different reactions. Different endings. Yet every path seems to lead them back to the same conclusion. The truth is worth sharing. Because keeping it hidden has become harder than speaking it. And that realization changes everything. What makes this moment so remarkable is not the confession itself. It is the journey behind it. The patience. The reflection. The quiet admiration that grew stronger with time instead of fading away. These are not emotions that appeared overnight. They are emotions that earned their place. And now, for perhaps the first time, this person is allowing themselves to imagine what happens after the confession. Not just the words. But what comes next. The possibility of being understood. The possibility of being seen. The possibility of discovering that the connection they felt was not theirs alone. That thought fills them with a sense of hope they have not felt before. And here is the surprising truth hidden within this entire story. The confession was never the real destination. The real destination was courage. Because courage is what transforms silent feelings into meaningful conversations. Courage is what turns possibilities into memories. And courage is exactly what this person is finding right now. Stay with me for the final chapter. Because the ending of this story is not about a dramatic revelation. It is about something far more powerful. The moment when everything finally becomes clear, and the unexpected identity behind this heartfelt confession is revealed in a way no one saw coming. The final piece of the story has been waiting patiently for this moment. And now, it is ready to be revealed. Throughout this journey, you may have searched for a specific face. A specific name. A specific person who seemed most likely to be standing behind this hidden confession. But the greatest surprise was never about who they are. It was about how differently you would see them once the truth came into the light. Because the person carrying these feelings was never trying to become the center of your attention. They were simply being themselves. Showing kindness when it mattered. Being present when others were distracted. Offering sincerity in a world that often moves too quickly. That is why their feelings grew quietly. And that is why their confession feels so meaningful. It was never built on illusion. It was built on genuine appreciation. The kind that develops when someone sees not only your strengths, but also your struggles, your growth, and the person you continue becoming. And here is the unexpected revelation. The person you least expected may have been the one who understood you most. Not because they had all the answers, but because they paid attention. While others noticed moments, they noticed meaning. While others heard words, they listened to what was behind them. While others looked briefly, they truly saw. That is the secret hidden inside this entire story. Sometimes love does not arrive from the direction we predict. Sometimes it quietly approaches through familiarity, respect, trust, and understanding. And when it finally reveals itself, the surprise is not that it exists. The surprise is realizing it may have been growing closer all along. As this story comes to an end, one message remains. Life is filled with unexpected chapters. Some begin with certainty. Others begin with a simple moment of honesty. And somewhere ahead, a conversation, a glance, or a heartfelt exchange may reveal something that changes the way two people see each other forever. Until then, keep your heart open to possibilities that do not look exactly as you imagined. Because the most meaningful connections are often the ones that arrive quietly. Then stay. Then grow. Then reveal their true value when the time is finally right. And that is why this love confession is closer than you think. And not at all who you expected.